Thank you, Agustina and Salta, for inviting us. We're like this independent structure in Paris. We do these kind of projects on our own with the goal to bring like the art, the reflections we have in Latin America, who are like, I think we have a scene that is very involved in politics and social like critique, and I think it's important to bring this to Europe, because sometimes we as Latin Americans living in Europe, we miss a little bit of that kind of social engagement. When we got the invitation from Agustina, the first idea we got, you know, like when you have like a dream, like what would be the epiphany, what would be the most beautiful thing that could happen, and what would be the most interesting thing to do. We thought immediately about Alfredo, because Alfredo is an artist who is very important for all of us. I think not only Latin Americans, but in the world, in the world of culture. He's someone who has a long tradition on doing interventions in public space and asking questions outside the museum, which I think is a very important thing to do. I think it's a very important mission for us, like cultural agents, let's say, call it artists or poets or writers. Sometimes we get too much indoors, and then I think it's important to go outdoors. And then it's a big influence and inspiration for my own work, so I cannot be more happy and proud. So we sent like this WhatsApp message saying like, no, it's not gonna happen. And then Alfredo is marvelous enough, and also he's a master of infiltration, meaning like infiltrates the city. Like, cities tend not to be critic, and I think that's something that lacks in our cities, to like have like critical layers. Sometimes the city only let us a space to be passive, to not do anything in public space, to just pass and then just go from home to work and then not say anything, not ask anything. And I think that's the space like where Alfredo create marvelous things and affect us in a good way, in a critical way. So thank you, Alfredo, also for accepting this. We're so proud. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more in detail about the work. And
thank you for coming. I'm really honored by your presence, and thank you, Agustina and Sophie and Lucas and Iván, for inviting me. We live in very dark times. We live in dark times because politics have failed us. Politics have failed us in the most miserable way, the most despicable way. And perhaps the world of art and culture is the last remaining space of freedom. This is the only space, the world of culture, where we can still dream of a better world, and where we can express ideas, where we can create models of thinking the world, different models of thinking the world, different from those politicians. And so the public space doesn't exist anymore. Everything is private. And so when we say public space, we really want to try to create what I call cracks in the system. So this is a little crack, just a little crack, surrounded by the system. This project is an homage to Antonio Gramsci, who is the founder of the Communist Italian Party in the 30s. And he spent 27 years of his life during the Mussolini government. And he wrote, and he wrote, and he wrote. He spent his life working and writing. That was his way of surviving. And he wrote an essential book called Letters from Jail, from Prison. And that's an essential book to understand the world today. Unfortunately, everything he wrote about the rise of fascism in Europe in the 30s has become true today. So this is an homage to him. And Gramsci expressed his mood at the time in the most poetic and beautiful way And I've always identified with that expression from Gramsci. He wrote, I am pessimist with my intellect, but I am optimistic with my will. And I think we have no choice today. Intellectually, we are very pessimistic because of the dark times in which we live, but our will must continue. Our will must be active. We must be optimistic with our will. We have no choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you have a mission. You have to bring these posters everywhere. So please feel free to take them home, take them to school, take them wherever you want.
Share them.
There you go.